Hello, today I'll be showing you how I introduce Nuke with Blender into my VFX workflow. Now, I first started off with some footage that I filmed in my back garden, and you would normally motion track in Nuke, but motion tracking 3D is not available in Nuke non-commercial, so I started motion tracking within Blender, getting a good solve and some good solid tracks all the way through, so then I could start reconstructing the scene within Blender and adding my 3D assets. Once the tracking data had been solved, it could be then moved and translated across into the digital camera within Blender, having solid tracks all the way through. This could then be reconstructed with shadow catchers, adding both a floor plane and the building on the side, as well as a couple objects in the main shot that then CG elements could be put and placed around both in the foreground and the background, just to add a moment of depth. Once I had reconstructed the entire scene, I then started working on the lighting using a HDRI that I took in the area that I filmed. I loaded that into Blender and started adjusting both the positioning of the HDRI to match up with the scene, as well as the exposure and strength of the light, so it properly reflected using reflective orbs within the scene, just to try and match the lighting and position of the HDRI. Once lighting and reconstruction of the scene was done, it was then to create a CGI element for the scene. So I decided to have something coming out of the ground, so I created a particle system of some dirt coming out, then with a giant centipede coming out of a dirt mound that rises from the sea. Once that had been rigged and animated and it worked with the simulated dirt, I then took that and scaled it properly into the scene so it fit with the shadow catchers and the lighting, and had that run through and had a clear render. Normally I would composite within Blender using that, but as Blender is a not industry standard software, I wanted to composite within Nuke instead. This meant exporting an EXR file which took both a shadow pass, mist pass, background play and foreground play, and then combine that all into one file that then could be read within Nuke. Taking the footage into Nuke, I then took a shuffle node and placed that between the viewer and then a writer node, so then it could be rendered out. Once that had been done, I then brought in another shuffle node that then could create a mist pass for the render. Once the mist pass had been done, then it was adding a depth of field with a couple more shuffle nodes and a constant node that was then put into the viewer that then adjusted the saturation and hue of the mist pass just to turn down the strength. Once that had been done, it was then taking a lens distortion and putting that into the viewer and taking that and adding ambient occlusion, and then once that was done, it was adding some colour to the lens distortion, and then I was done. Here's the final render. I hope you found this video useful, and I hope to show you more in the future.